Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Launchpad. My name's Zach. I am the host here at the Launchpad, and you are joining us with our live launch coverage of SpaceX CRS-23. This is the second attempt. I know some of you already in the chat were with us last night. Unfortunately, the weather just wasn't favorable for launch, and because this is a resupply mission to the International Space Station, it is an instantaneous launch window, but we have heard weather's a lot better here tonight. We're currently sitting at 80% go. Everything's green on the check bars at Kennedy Space Center for tonight, but we're going to get into all the mission details here in just a couple of minutes. But just to get us started off, let us know, as always, in the chat where you're watching from, who you're watching with. We'd love to just welcome you here tonight, and as always here on the Launchpad, if you have questions, send those in the chat. If you'd like to help support our channel, take a moment. You can send in either super chats or super stickers, or check out our Patreon or YouTube memberships. There are some awesome behind-the-scenes tiers, merch discounts, where there is a whole bunch of new TLP gear launching in the next couple of days. So great chance to take part in that. But if you haven't yet as well, when you join as a member, our Discord's free. You can join that. The link's in the description. But you can join us in the live comms. But if you become a member, there are some behind-the-scenes perks there as well. But it's free to join Discord. We'd love to invite you to join that, so the link's in the description there. But since we got that out of the way, let us know where you're watching from. Send in those questions, but we'll do a quick kind of rundown of what we are expecting to see here tonight. As I said, this is their second attempt at launching the CRS-23 mission. Currently, they're at 80% go for the weather and are targeting a liftoff time of 3:14:49 a.m. Eastern, or 7:14:49 GMT time from... We do have their mission control audio patched in here, so if we hear them talking at any point, we'll just listen in and see what we can hear from them there. So they had a little bit there working on their prop load, so they are progressing towards tonight's launch, but tonight they are launching a Falcon 9 Block 5 rocket from Pad 39A, the historic pad at Kennedy Space Center. Tonight's booster is Booster 1061-4. This is its fourth launch for the booster, and has had an 83-day now turnaround since its last mission. Launching up, as I said, to rendezvous with the International Space Station. They're targeting a docking tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, so about a 28-hour mission, carrying 2,200 kilograms or 4,800 pounds of cargo, resupply, food, clothes, and research to the International Space Station. The booster will be attempting to land tonight on the brand new SpaceX drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas, that is stationed off in the Atlantic Ocean. But let's take a look, see where people are tuning in from. Dragon, I'm watching from planet Earth. Love it. EJ, most of my family has COVID, so watching. Oh, I'm so sorry, EJ. I hope they get better soon, and we will definitely be thinking about them, and I hope you are able to stay safe there as well. Gabriella from South Australia, the South capital of Australia. That's awesome. Thanks for being here. It is the middle of the night for us over here in the North American side of the world. They're targeting 3:14 a.m. Eastern. I'm lucky enough to be a little bit further over to the west, so it's currently 12:30, so we're about 45 minutes away from expected launch. NASA normally will go live with SpaceX about 20 to 25 minutes before the expected T0 time for a CRS mission, but last night we saw the mission get scrubbed due to the weather, so we're going to take a quick look. I know we already said that the weather's looking good, but let's take a look here at the radar. So this is the weather radar right as of now. Totally clear. A little further along here. That's as of now. Absolutely nothing really on the radar except further up. The booster will be going to the southeast for the launch, I believe, tonight. Have to double check that. But as you can see, the weather is much clearer. A couple little rain cells off to the distance. But where they're forming, they pass by the Cape and Kennedy Space Center pretty well. So they're not too worried there. So So they are going to begin propellant loading. They have gone through their go, no-go for that. At this point, they will go through what their abort procedures are. Should there be any reason that they need to hold the launch, obviously tonight, with it being an instantaneous launch window, they really don't have time to call any sort of major holds too late into the count. So depending on the issue, they might try to actually work on an issue while the count progresses, hoping to still reach that T0. If not,
for non-urgent no-go conditions, please to CE and LD, they will approve aborting the countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, operators shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence and proceed into launch abort. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands-off and relying on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count. For those in firing room 4 today, in the event of a fire alarm, the operators noted below in step 58.73 will remain at their post while the alarm is evaluated. In the event that personnel safety is threatened, evacuate to the south-facing emergency exit, leading directly outside.
So you can hear them giving their abort instructions as they begin to prepare for propellant loading. Obviously, once you start fueling this rocket, if the fire alarm goes, you can't all leave. You're fueling a rocket here, and you have to maintain that. So they have lots of procedures in effect. You did hear in there that once they get to the T-minus 10 second mark in the count, they are hands off, and Falcon 9 is in control, as well as Cargo Dragon. And at that point, they rely on the automated system for doing any sorts of holds, just because of how close they are to that ignition point. Aaron, good to see you. Welcome. If you guys are new, take a moment, engage the like and subscribe. It really does help us out, and send in those questions. Robert, good to see you. Good morning from Spain. Great to see you in here again. I know there was some of you hanging out earlier here. Thomas and Dragon King, was great to have you in here as you waited for us to go live here. But right now we're sitting about 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away from the expected T0, so it won't be too long. And there they go. They're into the launch auto sequence. Another really great sign that they are progressing towards today's count. As we were saying, the weather is currently sitting at about an 80% go based on the last poll that we heard, and they have completed that poll and are now beginning propellant load. We know they'll go a little deeper into the cargo and everything on board of the mission, so we won't dive too deep into that, but this is part of the resupply contract that SpaceX has. This is actually the second contract that they have initiated with NASA for the ISS. This is the third launch into that new second contract for cargo resupply. A couple other things for tonight, as we said, the first mission landing on the new drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas. It's the second Cargo Dragon 2 flight for this capsule, C208-2. For it, 23rd, as we said, cargo resupply mission, 21st launch for SpaceX in 2021, so nice kind of round number there. And if they can land tonight's booster, it'll be their 90th successful booster landing. And believe it or not, we are already at 84 orbital launches that have taken place this year. So the year is just picking up. We know we've got Rocket Lab in just about 36 hours. Hopefully we'll have some Starlinks picking up at the end of September. We've got Inspiration 4, which we are so excited to be bringing you guys live launch coverage from Kennedy Space Center, and some behind the scenes of the VIP launch experience that those who were invited to by Jared and the crew. We're so thankful for Jared for inviting us to be part of this incredible opportunity and experience the VIP experience of visiting Kennedy and just celebrating this first all-civilian mission to space. So you're not going to want to miss that. We're going to be doing daily vlogs with some of our new team and bringing you the best possible views we can of kind of that whole experience. And we don't want to say too much more, but we know a bit of the itinerary, and we are excited and we're blown away on the opportunities that will hopefully be happening on this weekend for it. Sam from Thailand. Thank you, Sam, for putting in your name, because I would not have known how to say that username, but good to see you. Suzette, hello from South Africa. Good to see you as well. If you're just joining us, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the Launchpad, and this is our live launch coverage of SpaceX's CRS-23 mission to the International Space Station. Liftoff is targeting 3:14 a.m. Eastern, or 7:14 UTC, from pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. We're listening into Mission Control. They've given the go for prop load, so they are progressing quite quickly towards this launch attempt in 32 minutes from now. Got a question here from Aaron. Is the QD arm done? It is not. They did not lift it here. They did hook it up. We did see them do a weight test, which is when they lifted about 10-15 feet into the air just to make sure everything's balanced and stable. They moved a lot of the man lifts away, but they have left it on the ground for this evening. So we are expecting that QD arm lift to happen sometime tomorrow. If you're wondering what the QD arm is, that is the quick disconnect arm for the orbital launch tower at Starbase for Starship. That is the arm that will help give a little bit of support to Starship, but also its main job is for fueling the second stage of Starship, which is actually the Starship that we know. The booster will be fueled from the orbital launch mount below. Originally, they were going to fuel through the booster, but they figured they need a little bit more support there, and if they can put an arm, why not fuel it? It makes less piping that has to go through the booster as well. So it really does make sense, but they've been building the catch arms and the quick disconnect arm. Quick disconnect arm is connected to Franken-Crane and is ready to be lifted and attached onto the orbital launch tower as they progress towards the orbital flight test of Starship, which we will also be live at this September and October. We'll be down there live at the end of September to really kick off our orbital launch test coverage for Starship. We'll be live at Starbase giving you guys a look there. We'll be back in the studio for a few weeks, and then when we do have a final T0, we will be back at Starbase for that. So if you guys want to know more about that, you can check out the GoFundMe linked in the description or pinned in the kind of pinned chat, and learn how you can be part of that. Thanks so much, Sam. I appreciate that. If you're just joining us, we're expecting NASA and SpaceX to go live here in about 15 minutes or so as they prepare for liftoff here tonight. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. We'll be continuing to answer those live. Doesn't have to be related to tonight's mission. Could be Starship, SpaceX, the interesting flight that we saw with Astra this afternoon. Lots of things happening in the space community, so continue to send those questions in there. And while we do that, we'll pull up the weather here again, just keeping an eye on that. They are 80% go, which is a great sign. Hello from, oh my, you gave coordinates. Okay. Aaron, the propulsive landing is never boring. Hope in the future every second stage can come also be absolutely. The second stage recovering. Right now, that's not into the designs of Falcon 9. There's a lot that takes, but it's something that we're going to see with Starship, and really Starship's going to replace a lot of what Falcon 9 does, but there will be a large industry that Falcon 9 would be a better choice than Starship. Alec, hello. Zach, you do a great job bringing to the point news of SpaceX. 340A Emir in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Well, hello, Alec. Thanks so much for just that feedback and watching what we do. I appreciate it. We're excited to introduce some new people in our team that are going to help us bring you guys even better coverage live from the launch sites and from some home studios as well. So this is just the beginning. It's been a journey of 8 months, a lot of fun, and we're excited to just see what is next. SpaceX is live right now. Did they switch on? They're not live yet. The mission control audio is live, but their live stream's not live yet. Not yet. We've got mission control patched in, though, so good catch there. A little bit about what we can expect for the countdown timeline for this evening. Obviously, that will be on screen at T-minus 38 minutes. There was the go, no go for propellant loading. They didn't have that on mission control audio tonight. T-minus 35 minutes, they have the go and the starting of the propellant load of the RP-1 and liquid oxygen fueling. So we did hear that just a couple minutes ago. T-minus 35 minutes, we expect Dragon's startup sequence. T-minus 7 minutes, engine chill begins. T-minus 2 minutes, LOX load will complete on the second stage. T-minus 1 minute, the command flight computer will enter startup mode. That's when it really starts to come alive. T-minus 1 minute, both stages will begin to pressurize for the final time prior to launch. And at T-minus 45 seconds, the SpaceX launch director will confirm a go, no go for launch. T-minus 3 seconds, engine start sequence will occur, and then, of course, liftoff at T0. Max Q is expected at 1 minute, 20 seconds after launch. Main engine cutoff, or MECO as you'll hear, is 2 minutes 31 seconds after, and then they'll progress through the staging, the second stage ignition, and then the landing. We are expecting today's landing about 8 minutes and 45 seconds after liftoff, and Dragon separation 12 minutes after. So lots of milestones that will be coming up here tonight. Thomas, don't forget to tell us a little about you. It's a good idea. I should do that, shouldn't I? We'll do that. When we introduce the other team, we'll do an intro to me too. We can do that, Thomas. That's a great call out there. If you haven't yet, take a moment, let us know in our poll. Do you think CRS-23 will launch tonight? Currently sitting at a 90% go for launch in our poll, so a little bit better odds than we were hearing from Mission Control as they are continuing the count towards liftoff here tonight. We are monitoring to see when SpaceX or NASA goes live. They do partner together, so they broadcast at the same time, the same coverage. So we are keeping an eye out for that, and that should begin here in the very near future. And actually, we can pull up the media feed here because NASA TV has brought it up, which means we can get some nice views of the Falcon 9 as they prepare for launch here today. This is booster 1041-4 on your screen with the new second stage and the cargo Dragon on the top, ready to go to the International Space Station. Today's Dragon is C208-2. And that kind of venting and clouds you're seeing coming off of it are because that fueling progress has begun. Now, if you're new to Falcon 9 launches, yes, the bottom of this rocket does look dirty, and that's why there's -4 in its name. This is a reused rocket for from the base of it up to that big black section you see kind of about 3/4 of the way up the rocket. That is the first stage, which we will hopefully be landing on a Shortfall of Gravitas, the SpaceX drone ship attempting its first recovery here tonight. You will hopefully be able to have some great views with this upgraded next generation of the ship. Aaron, how long in the line Raptor 2.0 on the rockets? It'll probably be a little longer till we see that. They are working on it. I'm thinking early next year would be the earliest we'll start to see those arrive. Have to keep in mind, they're not going to mix Raptors. So they're going to produce enough for enough ships that they are ready to make the big switch. Because they're not going to mix them. That would make the rocket unbalanced and have a lot more issues. So I think they're probably going to do BS-420. Obviously, we know that. BS-521, I would expect probably has the first generation Raptors. Maybe the third one or fourth is where we will see Raptor 2 at the earliest. We don't know that too much yet on that, but we are listening into that to see when they will prepare those Raptor 2s.
Everything we do it.
There we go. NASA TV's doing their replay of their pre-launch coverage of what is on board here. George, good to see you. Gabriella, NASA has gone live. Yes, they do have their we're keeping an eye out on it here. They have gone live, haven't they? They're playing their kind of pre-show what some of the things are on it and how they are using special metabolites to extract from the grapes. Very interesting here. We can tap that in just a moment. But Euthino and Jamie Vlog. Hello, Euthino and Jamie Vlog. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate it. When is the Starship orbital test flight from the Philippines? Well, first, thank you so much for supporting the channel in that way. I really appreciate it. Great question. We don't have an exact launch date. We have been talking to some people we know close to Starbase and SpaceX, and we do know of a rough timeline based on some events that we have still yet to see. So there's a few things we're waiting on, and then we'll be able to give you guys a little bit more of an accurate targeted T0 kind of week. But at this point, we are looking at least T-minus 50 or 60 days. So we're looking about 2 months at this point, which, you know, we're looking very end of October or early November at the current rate and data that we know and regulations. We are waiting for the orbital launch site to go through its environmental report and the FAA to issue a launch license as well. So We are expecting end of October, early November at the absolute earliest. We will be live there to bring that to you guys. So make sure you have subscribed so you don't miss that. We'll be live on location. We're heading down the end of September to give you guys just a look at the beginning of the countdown with our full Starship orbital flight test coverage that we'll be doing, where we're going to be breaking down Starship, Starbase, and what we can expect during that over a number of weeks leading up to the launch. So make sure you join us for that. Got a question here from Aaron. Why is the first orbital Starship landing in the water? Because it is not safe to attempt to land anywhere else. They don't want to risk a drone ship. One, they don't have one ready for a Starship landing. Two, it's too dangerous to bring a Starship over land and attempt to land at Boca Chica, because to do that, it has to go, or Starbase, it has to go over Brownsville and other parts of Texas. And re-entry doesn't happen right above where you're landing. It occurs over quite a trajectory. If you think about the space shuttle, it came over even Texas, and you could see it there. So it is something that has a longer re-entry. Starship obviously will be a little different, less of a glider. But until they know how Starship launches into orbit, how it can go through re-entry, and how stable it is, or is it in pieces, and that they will not attempt a landing at land. And I think we're a few attempts away before they try to actually land one on a drone ship as well. Depending how this first one goes, maybe one more at least, and then maybe the third one, where we maybe will see Raptor 2s, is when we can expect them to start considering landing on a drone ship. Obviously, they still need to build a drone ship. They're not going to be landing these on the regular drone ships that we're used to. They're a much larger ship, and need something to be able to stabilize them, to be able to bring them back to port as well. So, great question, but something that they're working on. Sounds like there's some prop loading that is complete. We're going to take a quick second and just patch in the NASA feed so we can swipe between the two here, bringing you guys the best of both kind of views, depending what is happening. And we'll get this feed back up here for you guys there, but you can really see that fueling process has begun. The venting that you were seeing is totally normal for it, and you're going to start seeing that ice really develop. You can really see it on that first stage. That white line is slowly increasing, and that gives you a really great idea of where the fueling is, how much fuel has been loaded on board tonight's Falcon 9. The drone ship will be at Beast 2. Yeah, they're going to, if you look, they do have Phobos and Demios that they are preparing. I believe it is Demios is the one that's fully flattened already, pretty much, and ready to start being built up. And they're going to have to build a full orbital launch tower on these floating platforms. It's really going to be quite a sight to see for it. One of them is near Brownsville, so we will be going and hopefully bringing you guys some views of the drone, the new Starship orbital launch platforms, the floating ones, and what their current state is. Alex, good to see you. Welcome. If you're just joining us, take a moment, say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. We are currently sitting at about T-minus 20 minutes until the expected liftoff time here tonight of CRS. Ooh, they are loud tonight. That was the NASA feed here. They got their volume on. You can hear the rocket hissing. So we'll turn that up for a minute. SpaceX is up. Yep, they all cover the same thing. So we got NASA up. They show the exact same coverage for the cargo missions. They are a little bit different when it is for the crew missions. But generally speaking, they are showing the same. We do have access also through their media channel, which gives us kind of some of the uninterrupted views of what is happening, so we can keep an eye on the rocket. You can see there the crew access arm has been retracted for it, which means they are clearing the pad. And obviously, since they're fueling it up as well, the pad has been cleared, just like we would see during a crew one. They don't begin that until the pad is safed for it here. You can see that white line slowly going up the side of the booster here. And we'll expect to see the second stage begin getting a little bit icier and a little more venting coming off of it. You're seeing a lot more of this just because of the location. This is Florida, so the heat and the humidity Really does give a great sight to the kind of clouds coming off of the booster due to that cryogenically fueled liquid oxygen and RP1. Some of those vents you can be hearing as they're preparing. Currently, we're sitting at T-minus 17 minutes and some seconds as there we go. 17 minutes, 20 seconds as they prepare for tonight's launch. This is actually a great shot. We are hoping to we're working on out the last few locations, but we're going to be able to bring you guys a view something like this for Inspiration 4 from our own cameras. And we're excited to bring that to you hopefully long before the coverage there. So make sure you stay tuned for that. If you haven't yet, take a moment, share out the broadcast, let people know we're T-minus 15 minutes here. One-man show here tonight, so we're running the social medias here as well, so bear with me. But you can keep sending in those questions, and we will continue to answer those. We will have a little bit of a deployment phase and then continue to answer those questions following today's launch with a replay as well. If you're just joining us, though, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the launch pad. Here at the pad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. Because we really believe space is better together. So we invite you to join our crew. You can do so by subscribing, joining our Discord. The link's in the description. It's free to join. But also checking us out on Twitter, Facebook, and considering becoming a member there. You can hear some of those sounds of the Falcon 9 really starting to come alive. Do you think Jeff's lawsuit against SpaceX will have a huge delay on Starship? No. It might have a little delay on the HLS version of Starship, but we have to keep in mind that Starship was something under development long before that contract. It was something they were working on as they were preparing for SpaceX to go to the moon and Mars. So it is something that we are expecting them to still progress with. NASA is going live here, so we'll patch in their audio here in just a moment to hear an update on the weather and the progressing of fueling as we come down past the T-minus 15 minute mark until tonight's launch of CRS-23. Oh, not yet. They changed their intros. Showing some of the cargo there. Is there edible shrimp on this ship? I don't believe there's shrimp today.
Live look of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket and cargo dragon here at Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Yesterday's launch was scrubbed because of weather. We're going to try again in just about 14 minutes. Thank you for waking up with us again this Sunday morning. I don't know what day it is, guys. I'm Megan Cruz with NASA Communications, live from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Today's launch at 3:14 a.m. Eastern Time is SpaceX's 23rd cargo resupply mission for NASA to the International Space Station. We are again simulcasting this live show on NASA TV and on SpaceX's webcast. Let's bring in Andy Tran now, live from SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Andy, I know you're also hoping for some better weather today, and it looks like we have it.
Yeah, we are definitely continuing to keep an eye on the weather. If it does cooperate, this will be the third Dragon flight to the space station this year and also the third cargo resupply mission with our upgraded Dragon. Following a successful launch, this Dragon will be joining the Crew 2 vehicle Endeavour, currently on orbit and attached to the International Space Station. For now, let's take a closer look at the vehicles out on the pad. On screen right now is a view of Dragon, and that is a view of Falcon 9 underneath it. It is a reusable two-stage rocket designed and manufactured by SpaceX. The bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is the first stage. Its objective is to accelerate the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to space and then separate from the rest of the rocket. This is going to be the fourth flight for today's first stage, which actually previously supported both the Crew 1 and Crew 2 missions for NASA. We are going to be attempting to recover the first stage again with our brand new drone ship named a Shortfall of Gravitas. There it is on screen. Above the first stage is the second stage. It has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine which ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry Dragon to its intended orbit, allowing the spacecraft to eventually rendezvous with the International Space Station. And as we saw previously, Dragon is the spacecraft sitting on top of the rocket. To this day, Dragon remains the only spacecraft currently flying that's capable of transporting significant amounts of cargo to and from the Earth. So that's a little bit about our Dragon and Falcon 9 vehicles. Back to you, Megan.
Thank you, Andy. And now I want to bring in Joshua Santora, also with NASA Communications. Joshua, can you walk us through yesterday's weather concerns and again, just how much better it's looking today?
Yeah, Megan, as you said, it is looking so much better today. Appreciate that. And so yesterday we had a lot of concerns happening really close to launch. And as is the case with all weather concerns, it just takes time to get past them. And that's what we saw yesterday is we didn't have enough time. And so we were concerned about things that either actual natural lightning or generating lightning as we flew through the atmosphere. And so that really kind of forced us to wave off yesterday's attempt. Today, things are looking phenomenal. Take a look here. This is only a 20% chance that we would have a violation of our launch constraints, which means we are 80% go on weather. The only things we're watching are some clouds in the area and the potential for precipitation, but by and large, we're extremely optimistic, now targeting launch in about 11 minutes from now. That report coming from the Space Launch Delta 45 folks with the Space Force. Appreciate Launch Weather Officer Brian Cizik walking us through that. And then the range taking care of public health and safety as well, the land around the launch pad, the water over which we fly, the air we fly through, and the space we're headed to, doing the collision on launch avoidance assessments, and those all look clear. So we are on track for our liftoff on time at 3:14:49 a.m. Eastern Time. That timing is so precise because we have a single second in order to be able to rendezvous with the space station, currently traveling at 17,500 miles an hour, and we're set to rendezvous and dock tomorrow morning, Monday, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, with our coverage beginning at about 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So, Megan, technically really quiet, weather looking really solid. Everything is go at this moment. That's it for now. Back to you.
I'm loving your update, Joshua. Thanks for that. All right, T-minus 10 minutes to launch now. How about we take a look at some of the science flying to station today?
What do ants, plants, a remote implant, and brine shrimp all have in common? They're all part of investigations sponsored by the International Space Station U.S. National Laboratory, launching on SpaceX's 23rd Commercial Resupply Services mission. Moreover, these projects will be supporting the validation of the Faraday Research Facility, a new commercial research facility operated by Proxops that is flying on this mission and will provide additional avenues of experimentation for future investigators. Specifically, the Girl Scouts of Citrus, in conjunction with Space Kids Global, will launch 3 different student-led investigations, all evaluating the characteristics of living organisms in low Earth orbit. One experiment will examine microgravity's effects on ant behavior. Another will look at plant growth in space, and the last will explore how brine shrimp move and behave in the low Earth orbit environment. A team of researchers from Houston Methodist Research Institute is also launching an investigation on this mission that will utilize the Faraday Research Facility. This team has a long and exciting history of space-based R&D in areas ranging from nanofluidics to drug delivery technology development, rodent research, and advanced materials. These research projects have led the team to its latest investigation that will aid in the development of a tunable drug delivery implant. The implant can be remotely controlled to release specific amounts of drug, providing individualized treatment for patients on Earth. These are only a few of the ISS National Lab sponsored projects launching on SpaceX CRS-23. Research sponsored by the National Lab aims to bring value to our nation and drive a robust market in low Earth orbit. To learn more about all investigations sponsored by the ISS National Lab flying on this mission, please visit our mission overview page at issnationallab.org.
All very interesting and really a wide variety of science. Researchers use the unique opportunity to study things in microgravity to hopefully uncover ways to improve human spaceflight or how we do things here on Earth. Some of today's experiments were loaded onto Dragon just right before yesterday's launch attempt. You can see video there of what we call that late load. Each person is carefully handling the time-sensitive experiments that needed to be packed into Dragon as close to launch as possible. But what happens to the science once it arrives at the space station? Let's take a look at a special tour we shot just for you guys with the astronauts on board.
Hello and welcome aboard the International Space Station. I'm NASA astronaut Megan MacArthur along with my crewmate Shane Kimbrough. We are getting ready for the SpaceX 23 cargo mission coming up soon, and we're very excited. It's going to be keeping us pretty busy.
Hey Megan, let's go show them around the space station a little bit, and we'll show you where some of these experiments are going to be done. Welcome to the European module called Columbus. This is where a lot of the SpaceX 23 experiments are going to hang out. One of those is called Apex 8, which is going to study the response to stressors at the genetic level of plants. Now they're going to be really small plants in petri dishes that we're going to eventually put into this facility here that's called Veggie. It's a veggie plant growth facility. On my last flight, I got to grow lettuce in here, and we got to actually harvest that and eat it, so that's pretty cool. One of the things we're trying to do is to learn how to engineer plants to grow better in microgravity, and what we learn from that will be able to help us in the future in space travel, but also help people on Earth grow things better. This isn't the only facility we have on the International Space Station to grow things. We have an advanced plant habitat, and currently we're growing chili peppers in there, which we hope to harvest towards the end of our mission.
So now we're in the U.S. laboratory, which is called Destiny, and this is one of our main areas for conducting science on the International Space Station. One of the things that makes the International Space Station such a versatile research lab are the express racks. There's a couple of them right here over my head, and the cool thing about these is that it allows different researchers from around the world to send up their own payload, and the express rack provides the power and data, cooling, whatever that particular payload needs. One of the new facilities that will be coming up on SpaceX 23 cargo mission is called the Faraday Research Facility, and it's able to house 4 different experiments at once. 3 of them will house small organisms. The 4th experiment will be a medical experiment to look at remote-controlled delivery of medication. So that will be an interesting technology demonstration as well, and we'll be able to install that facility into one of our express racks here in the laboratory.
And that was NASA astronauts Megan MacArthur and Shane Kimbrough aboard the International Space Station. And welcome to the International Space Station Flight Control Room. I am Shaniqua Vereen, live at the Johnson Space Center here in Houston, Texas. The team of flight controllers at Mission Control Houston today is being led by Flight Director Rebecca Wingfield. Teams here at Mission Control will really jump into action tonight into early Monday morning as Cargo Dragon approaches the International Space Station. There are currently 7 crew members living and working aboard the station. Expedition 65 consists of NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough, Megan MacArthur, and Mark Vandehei, Roscosmos cosmonauts Pyotr Dubrov and Oleg Novitsky, Aki Hoshide of JAXA, and Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency. As Crew Dragon approaches the International Space Station in the morning hours on August 30th, NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur will be monitoring the arrival from the station's cupola. Cargo Dragon will remain attached to the International Space Station for about 1 month before being packed up with critical science and supplies and will splash down in the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico for that science to be analyzed back here on Earth. Everything's still a go from here in Mission Control Houston, and we're looking forward to welcoming another vehicle to the International Space Station. So for now, we'll head back out to Kennedy. Megan?
Great, Shaniqua, thanks. Let's get one last status update from Andy and Joshua before the final moments of the countdown. Guys?
Thanks, Megan. We are about T-minus 3.5 minutes until liftoff. The SpaceX team is working no significant issues. Right now, we are expecting the strongback to be reclining away from the rocket to its pre-launch position, about 2 degrees away from Falcon 9, in order to prepare for liftoff. That strongback is part of the transporter erector. You can see on screen right now, it's starting to recline away from Falcon 9. The transport director is that large truss structure next to Falcon 9. Its job is, again, to retract away from the rocket and prepare for liftoff. At this point, RP-1 fuel is completely loaded on the second stage and nearly completely loaded on the first stage. Liquid oxygen loading is currently underway on both stages and will complete around the T-minus 2-minute mark. In these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing final health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight.
Dragon is undergoing vehicle health checks, and we did hear the call out T-minus 5 minutes for internal power. Switch to internal power, meaning it's living on its own, apart from ground support systems, which is great. We're also expecting right now the checkouts of the second stage thrust vector control actuators are underway. This is what we affectionately refer to as the engine wiggle test. Not very technical, but definitely kind of describes what we're talking about. We're moving the nozzles of those engines on the engine on the second stage to ensure we have control for the uphill climbing and navigating that vehicle. That's just part of making sure the guidance hardware is go for flight. SpaceX will do the exact same thing for all of the first stage engines just a few seconds before ignition. All of this in preparation for our rendezvous with Space Station tomorrow morning. And Space Station right now we're on approach for. We're catching up to.
Stage 2 load complete.
Is just over the south edge of Australia as we speak.
Dragon is in auto idle.
And we just heard the call out that LOX load has been completed. That will wrap up propellant loading for the vehicle. You can start to see some white clouds forming around Falcon 9 and Dragon. That is normal and expected for us at this stage in the countdown. That is super chill liquid oxygen starting to condense as it reaches the warmer ambient air temperatures of Florida.
Coming down to T-minus 1 minute, 20 seconds there. Stromback has retracked.
So we're going to hear a few call-outs, but by and large, we'll just listen in here and walk through as Dragon finalizes its preparations and the team verifies we'll go for launch.
T-minus 60 seconds. Their vehicle is in startup. As always, let's see a go, no-go in the chat. So Falcon 9 is in control now.
For launch. Range and weather should both be good to
Falcon
go.
9, CRS-23, go for launch.
Go for launch.
That was the voice of the launch director verifying we are go.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Cargo Dragon takes flight, continuing a busy year of deliveries to a crew of 7 aboard the International Space Station.
Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
So we're waiting for max Q here. And there we go. It is on its way to the International Space Station, passing 750 kilometers an hour and over 4 kilometers in altitude already. Those onboard cameras giving us a little bit of a look.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower and is currently headed to space. In about 15 seconds here, we're coming up on max Q. This is where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures.
Max Q coming up. There's max Q. We can now all breathe.
Max Q. We actually throttled down the Merlin engines in preparation for that event. Coming up are 5 more events in rapid succession. Main engine cutoff, stage separation, first stage flip, second engine start 1, and then the boost back burn on this first stage will begin. Main engine cutoff, also known as MECO, is where all 9 M1D engines on the Falcon 9 first stage will shut down. This is followed by stage separation, or the separation of the first and second stages. From there, the first stage will flip to prepare for re-entry and landing a few minutes later. And the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite to boost Dragon to low Earth orbit, and that's also known as SES-1. The first stage will then begin its boost back burn. That is the first of 3 burns needed to land on our drone ship today. The first of those 5 events, main engine cutoff, is coming up in about 10 seconds.
We're waiting for that MECO call. There's MECO. Stage separation. Booster 1061-4 on its way back to a shortfall of Gravitas. And there's that ignition, and the second stage is continuing to finalize the orbit, sending Cargo Dragon on its way to the International Space Station. Eat your heart out, Bezos. That's amazing, Robert.
Okay, those were those 5 events. A lot happening on screen. Main engine cutoff, stage separation. The first stage performed a flip. Second stage on the right-hand side of your screen ignited its Merlin vacuum engine. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we're in the middle of that first stage boost back burn. Looks like we are getting some really cool views
Stage 1
of
boost
the
back shutdown.
contrails being produced by the first stage.
Boost back burn
And that
complete.
will call out for the successful completion of our first of 3 burns on the first stage. So if you're just joining us, you're watching a live webcast of the 23rd Commercial Resupply mission to the International Space Station for NASA. This is SpaceX's 21st mission this year, and this is the cargo configuration of our Dragon spacecraft.
Acquisition of signal at Bermuda.
You might be interested to know, in order to get into space, the rocket has to do more than just go up. It actually has to go sideways really, really fast. At liftoff, gravity is pulling straight down the rocket, and as we ascend, we tilt the engines. That turns the rockets horizontally. Now, we're still going up, but we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad in what we call a gravity turn. The rocket typically needs to go about 7.5 kilometers per second, or 17,500 miles per hour horizontally, in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and get into orbit. On screen again is the view of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. On the opposite end of that engine is our Dragon.
So Falcon 9's on its way back to a shortfall of Gravitas. This is going to be the first time it's ever attempted to have a recovery. This is the next generation of drone ships. Quite a big redesign from what we've seen with, of course, I Still Love You and Just Read the Instructions. So we'll definitely be interested to see how this goes. Here we're a couple more minutes until we see that entry burn for it. But here is hopefully we will have a successful landing of booster 1061-4. 83-day turnaround, had a successful launch, and now is on its way back to Earth here with its re-entry burn in coming up in just a few seconds here.
But on the bottom left-hand side of the screen is a speedometer of sorts tracking the velocity of the first stage. As we begin that second burn, watch for that speed to slow down, and definitely once we hit the denser parts of the atmosphere, we'll start to see the speed slow down quite significantly.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there is the beginning of the entry burn. 3 Merlin engines have relit and are currently slowing down the first stage.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Awesome. That is the successful completion of the second burn. We are about 60 seconds away from landing, and the vehicle is traveling about 900 miles an hour. This really puts into perspective the deceleration. In the span of less than a minute, we'll have reduced the speed from the speed of a jet all the way down to 0 as the rocket lands. And again, this is our brand new drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas. This is going to be the first time that we are making a landing attempt on it, and it's currently perched out in the Atlantic Ocean waiting for that first stage booster to return to it.
Waiting for landing here. We'll hopefully see it all light up. There's the lights. Little staticky.
A single engine, the center engine, engine number 9, has relit in preparation for landing.
This is a pretty bad video footage tonight. There's a clear view.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy.
And very bright there. You can see that camera even getting shaken around. This is normally why it gets pixely. Oh, it looks like it's pretty much centered here. And I think it's good. Is it standing? There it is.
And that is the 90th successful landing for an orbital class rocket, and the very first for our new drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas. That is a beautiful thing to see, and a great way to start off today's mission. Next event coming up is for the second stage. The Merlin vacuum engine will shut off its engine in an event called Second Engine Cutoff, also known as SECO. And shortly after SECO, we'll be entering a coast phase and waiting for that confirmation of a good orbit.
Waiting for SECO here. There's second engine cutoff, and they are in orbit. Cargo Dragon is on its way to the International Space Station.
And we did get confirmation of both SECO, second engine cutoff, and a nominal orbital insertion. Now, the second stage has one last major task, and that is commanding separation of Dragon a couple of minutes from now. Again, this is the second flight for this particular Dragon and the first reuse of our upgraded cargo vehicle.
This is a view inside the trunk there.
Of Dragon separation from the top of the second stage. It'll give us a nice view into Dragon's unpressurized cargo trunk.
We're about 3 minutes away from that targeted Dragon separation and deployment.
Its way to the International Space Station, it will be joining the Crew 2 vehicle Endeavour, currently on orbit and attached to the International Space Station. It's going to be super cool to see 2 Dragons docked to the International Space Station once again. And again, for cargo, we will be delivering over 4,800 pounds of science, research, crew supplies, and vehicle hardware to the orbiting laboratory and its crew. This includes the brine shrimps and ants that we had talked about earlier in the broadcast. Now, the science and research being done in microgravity on the International Space Station has benefited our lives here on Earth for decades. What's really cool is that our new Cargo Dragon vehicle is also able to act as a laboratory in the advancement of this science and research. We call this capability Extend the Lab. It allows some powered payloads to remain on Dragon for experimentation during the duration of the mission. This is especially helpful when there is limited to no space on station for additional science, and it also helps cut down the amount of time the crew has to move payloads in and out of Dragon. For CRS-23, there are 3 Extend the Lab payloads launching with the mission, and once docked, a 4th, which is currently already on the space station, will be added to Dragon. So we are about a minute away from that separation from Dragon from the second stage. For now, we are enjoying some views of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine. We can talk a little bit about the upgrades that have been made to Dragon. The first is solar arrays. Typically, after separation, we wait for solar arrays to unfurl from Dragon. This upgraded Dragon has been redesigned, and the solar arrays has its panels built into the trunk section itself, providing power during flight and while on board the station. Another upgrade is how we dock. Before, we needed Dragon to be berth, which is where a robotic arm from the International Space Station reaches out and grabs Dragon and will attach it to the International Space Station. Now, Dragon can autonomously dock using a centerline camera and LiDAR, which is an acronym for Light Detection and Ranging. And so this autonomous docking sequence is what Dragon will go through in the short future as it continues to make its way towards the International Space Station.
Separation confirmed.
And their separation.
And that is a great view of Dragon separating from the top of the second stage. Now the service section Dracos will undergo some checkouts. Coming up is the beginning of the nose cone opening sequence. I'm going to hand it over to Shaniqua in Houston to talk a little bit more about that.
What a view, though, there. Look at that view on the big screen, even still behind her there.
Thanks, Andy. Everything is still going well back here in Houston and Mission Control Houston. Right after Dragon separated, it began a series of automatic checkouts, including some small firings of the
Prepare for the screen inception.
The next milestone is the nose cone deploy. The nose cone protects the docking hardware and rendezvous and tracking elements on top of Dragon during ascent. The nose cone deployed uncovers the 4 forward bulkhead thrusters, which Dragon will use for its major burn maneuvers to catch up with the space station. Once open, the nose cone will stay in that position until the very end of its mission, closing prior to re-entry to provide some additional protection to that same hardware during re-entry. And we currently are waiting for confirmation for that nose cone to be deployed.
Great over kind of shot view of Mission Control here. Each of those large stations with 6+ monitors, couple tablets, lots of things they are tracking at each of those stations, each following a very specific role in the launch from Mission Control Houston there. If you guys have questions, you can continue sending those in the chat. We'll answer a few of them here before we wrap up. We're waiting for that nose cone deployment, and then we'll get into answering some questions. I know we saw some stuff about the Atlas in there, saw some questions about Astra, we saw some questions about some sort of refueling space station. So lots of things we'll talk about quickly before we conclude for the evening. But if you haven't yet, take a moment, hit the like button. It really does help us out. And make sure you've subscribed as well if you are new. If you joined us and you didn't get to hear my voice through that, we always try to let you guys listen into the live raw sounds and views there. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the Launchpad. Welcome. Here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, and we invite you to join our crew by subscribing, because we really do believe space is better together, and we want to take you with us.
Houston currently, and we're waiting for the confirmation of nose cone deploy for Cargo Dragon.
Still waiting for that nose cone deployment here. Why does Jeff keep suing Elon? Well, he's suing the U.S. government, actually. So the lawsuit in the videos there.
We have a special guest. Now joining me on the phone is manager of the International Space Station Systems Engineering and Integration Office, Jeff Aaron.
We're going to listen into this.
Outline the major activities for the crew with CRS-23 for us.
Sure can. In a word, they're going to be extremely busy conducting research. There's more than a metric ton of research arriving with SpaceX 23, much of which needs to be removed in hours to days to start the science and research mission, because most of which will be completed in the entire 30-day mission while SpaceX is on orbit. And then much of that science needs to return with the vehicle upon its departure. So in addition to the research mission, the crew will be conducting 3 EVAs over a 10-day period of time, 2 EVAs on the Russian segment, where 2 new power cables will be installed to enable additional power transfer to the new module, the module that just arrived actually a month ago today, the multi-purpose laboratory module, and 1 EVA on the U.S. segment to install the 3rd IROSA mod kit, which will enable a future solar array upgrade on the U.S. segment.
Thanks, Jeff. And I know you mentioned a lot about the science and the hardware that's going up, but how critical are these deliveries for the station and for the astronauts aboard?
Yeah, these commercial resupply missions are very, very important to continue advancing science aboard the space station. Over 3,000 experiments have been conducted during the station's lifetime, which we're now approaching, coming up on 21 years of continuous human presence. On this flight, SpaceX is packed with more than 2 metric tons of supplies, research, technology demonstrations, and hardware. The crew will stay busy unpacking and conducting these research activities, with the first several days being extremely critical for several experiments: the Faraday Research Facility, ESA Biofilms, and Tangle Lab.
And you mentioned, Jeff, as always, it's a busy time aboard the International Space Station with cargo vehicles and crews coming and going. You mentioned the 2 Russian spacewalks that are quickly approaching us. How complex will the next few months be for the station program and the global partnerships?
Yeah, it's always a complex time on ISS. And SpaceX-23, as I think you pointed out earlier, it arrives tomorrow. So 30 some hours, when I'm trying to do real-time math here, 28 to 30 hours later, but 10 a.m. Central is when SpaceX will arrive. Following docking to the Node 2 forward port, and oh, by the way, this is the first cargo vehicle that will be docking to the forward port. The hatch will be opened about 2 hours later, and then the crew still has several hours of unpacking to do to begin the research program. And although the first EVA isn't until Friday of this week, the crew has already begun preparing for each of these upcoming spacewalks, which include suit preparations, tool gathering and packing, procedure reviews, and personally a lot of self-study for the astronauts. There will be 2 on the Russian segment, as you said, and 1 in the U.S. segment, all over a 10-day period of time. So it's very busy time, but as I kind of said up front there, it's kind of like that every day on ISS. So very exciting times.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, and thanks so much for joining us today. Back here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, flight controllers are monitoring the systems on the station itself ahead of Dragon's arrival Monday morning. Once Dragon crosses that approach ellipsoid, which is the mythical sphere around the station, flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston will begin joint operations with the SpaceX teams in Hawthorne, California. NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur will be monitoring the approach and arrival of Dragon with a planned docking Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Once Cargo Dragon is docked to the station, MacArthur and Kimbrough will begin those hatch operations that Jeff mentioned. And between the International Space Station and Cargo Dragon, the hatches will be opened. Again, everything's still on track on the International Space Station side. So that'll do it for us here in Mission Control Houston. Now back over to Kennedy. Megan?
Thanks, Shaniqua. That's going to wrap up our launch coverage of SpaceX's 23rd Commercial Resupply Services mission. Cargo Dragon is on course to dock to the International Space Station at about 11 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. We will have live coverage of rendezvous and docking beginning at 9:30. In the meantime, you can learn even more about this mission on nasa.gov Commercial Resupply. Thank you for joining us, and we'll leave you with a replay of today's gorgeous launch.
So we'll leave that replay on the screen here for you guys, so you can see it here. We'll let you listen into the sound too, just at the liftoff part.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition and liftoff.
Cargo Dragon takes flight, continuing a busy year of deliveries to a crew of 7 aboard the International Space Station.
Quite a great view there from earlier this evening of the launch there. Did the nose cones open? Yes, they did have nose cone open confirmation. They just didn't really say it there, but from what we know, it did open. Opens quite quickly after there, so it sounds like it, but we will wait to have full confirmation of that here via their Twitter if they have not as they didn't say it on air, but normally they would say if there was an issue that they were working. But thank you guys for being here. I know we had a few questions that came in the chat about the ending of Atlas. Yes, ULA has stopped selling Atlas rockets. Now, there are a lot of missions still to go. There are, we're not talking 2, 3, or 4 like the Delta IV Heavy. We've got quite a few missions to go, years to come. But it is something that they are now selling Vulcan. They are focusing on that. That is their new launch vehicle. So that is what they are going to be focusing on, rather than trying to have a fleet of like 7 different types. As you have to remember, with a lot of these models with ULA, there are multiple variations. So they have to be able to know what works, know what the best options are for their customers, but also for their manufacturing capabilities, and go from there. Lots of people talking about the lawsuit as well. The lawsuit is Blue Origin versus the U.S. government as NASA. It's not Jeff versus Elon or Jeff versus SpaceX, but when you boil it down, it really is. But legally speaking, it is Blue Origin versus the U.S. government's NASA department. For it, we'll have an update tomorrow about some changes to the court scheduling that have occurred based on some of the data collection and preparations for the court documents. So keep an eye out for that. We will be live, of course, as well tomorrow for the rendezvous and docking of CRS-23. They're starting their stream at 9:30 a.m. So we'll probably go live right about 9:15 a.m. Eastern. Not today, but tomorrow. So about 30 hours from now, for the rendezvous and docking of Cargo Dragon to the International Space Station, fully autonomous. This is the 3rd time we have seen this new kind of generation of Cargo Dragon do this, so we're excited to bring that to you. Of course, if you haven't yet, take a moment, check out our GoFundMe link that is pinned in the comment here. We are heading down to bring you some behind the scenes of the VIP experience of the first ever all-civilian mission to space, Inspiration 4. Again, thank you to Jared for inviting us and our team and myself to be part of the Inspiration 4 journey from the get-go with our sit-down interview. If you haven't seen that yet, take a look, and we're so excited to be down there to bring you guys some really amazing close-up looks of this mission and the experience that those special guests are going to have. Then we're heading over to Starbase to officially kick off our countdown to orbital flight test of Starship BS-420. We're going to kick off kind of a month to 2 months of full coverage of the testing and preparations for that, and we're going to kick it off live for a few days in Starbase, come back to the studio, and then of course be back down there for the orbital flight test. We're not going to miss it, but we are still on track there, Matt and Ryland. Good to see you guys in here, but we are excited for that trip. Made some changes to the plans. Going to be in Kennedy a little longer than we thought, but have had some really great things pop up and opportunities and some interviews that we are very excited to hopefully be sharing with you guys here in the near future. Nothing we can announce just yet, but some things that we are working on. So make sure you have subscribed for that so you never miss us. Follow us over on Twitter at @TLPN_official. If you haven't followed us on our brand new Instagram, do that as well. We're going to be posting lots of Insta stories on the road and then daily vlogs on YouTube, and our Discord link is in the description below. It's totally free to join, and we invite you to join that coverage. But I think for that, we're going to wrap it up for there. Mr. Angel, good work on the stream. Thank you. Thomas, congrats. You made it through another stream chat. Thank you so much. My great-granddad is NASA's okay. Great coverage and good night's sleep. Thank you, Robert. Leave a like. Was a good stream. Thanks, Mr. Angel. I appreciate that. But we're going to wrap it up for there. Here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, and we invite you to be part of our crew by subscribing and just joining our community. If you ever have questions, you can send those, of course, in the comments below on any of our videos, or join the Discord and send them in there as well. But for now, we're going to wrap it up from here in the studio. My name's Zach. This is the Launchpad, signing off. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow for the docking of CRS-23 at the International Space Station.